the other co-founder and I launched Summit for Soldiers many years ago, not as an organization, but just our personal mission to bring awareness to the issues surrounding post-traumatic stress and veteran suicide, as well as just our own therapy, getting into the outdoors. And in 2012, I tried to take my life. And so this grew a new mission and purpose for me.
Ready? Happy freedom to you. Happy freedom to you. Happy freedom to Andrew. Happy freedom to you. All right. Yeah.
Charlie, it's amazing what you did with that tube of
And this is the cool part.
And all this leads up to our main purpose through every aspect of what we do at Summit for Soldiers, and that's to remove veterans from the isolation that can often and does often lead to some of the over 8,000 veteran suicides that occur each year.
My name is Nash Lamb. I live in Pryor, Oklahoma. I'm a Vietnam vet, as you can pretty well see. I came back from Vietnam in June of 1968. I lived through the Tet Offensive. So I get home, and when I get home, I have a brand new baby. I didn't really want to know him. I had a very difficult time getting home. Fortunately, I have an 18-year-old brother. He grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, and he said, we're going up into the mountains.
This is my therapy. I have a fishing pole and hiking boots in my work truck, so I live in the outdoors. I'm a beekeeper, but I've worked a lot of rec therapy with mental health and amputees and stuff, and I've noticed just being outside is more helpful than having a one-on-one in the office.
The hiking probably prevented me from doing something awful because I was in no state of mind when I got home. Being with other veterans is much more important than I thought, and I totally avoided it because I just didn't want to talk about Vietnam. Nobody wanted to talk about Vietnam at that time. It's now coming out. Life's getting a lot better for us guys, and being here today with you guys, gosh, I wish you all a great hike, and hope it does for you what it did for me. I love you guys.
Because we go into the outdoors, outdoor activities and adventures. That's kind of our platform, but it's not the root of what we're about. That's a platform for us to get together and cultivate our relationships and camaraderie and begin to build that network of support. It also is an opportunity if I'm a veteran that's been struggling and I've just stepped out to come be a part of a group, and now I'm exposed to maybe boating or climbing or hiking or whatever it may be, and now I'm starting to cross over into this outdoor community as I get involved. But it's mainly just to cultivate those relationships. So,
how'd you sleep last night?
We did a bit of surfing.
A
little bit of an incline, so you start at the top.
Lots of sliding, lots of tossing and turning, so it was about as restful as it could be.
I mean, we've snuggled every night, and it's great. I think that's why we all slept so well.
We slept in a yurt 2 nights ago. Yeah, we actually had less room in there than we did in the tent last night. But that didn't stop us from getting close together.
Yeah.
So my sleeping bag was nice and warm, and besides the headache, I actually slept pretty well.
I don't know, it's the best sleep I've had in a long time.
Yeah, I know.
In spite of all that.
I'm not complaining, man. I
wake up in a ball at the bottom. I'm like, and I just try to claw my way back up. I just said, screw it.
He'd always tell me, he's like, hey mate, don't worry about it. It'll always buff out regardless of how bad it gets. So that's where that came from.
Okay.
My name is Andrew Collins. I did 6 years active duty in the Army. And then I got out in 2010. I was honorably discharged. I did all right the first year getting out, and then getting into 2012 there, like just a lot of personal issues, like either with the loss of my friends or not being able to come back to some kind of normal, and then also like not feeling like the community supported me. But I think some of that, like, I wasn't going and looking for it because I was isolating, which is what veterans do kind of primarily. 2012, attempted suicide 3 times. In about, that's at the end of 2016, I started working with Knowles, the National Outdoor Leadership School there. Like, how do we create a custom course that gets veterans outside? Just spending time outside, I kind of realized that was kind of helping me calm this more or less war in my head. And then as far as like sleep too, like I could just actually sleep if I was outside, which was pretty crazy. Within that experience, I had the opportunity to start working with the Wyoming Outdoor Council.
We started right here in Wyoming. We are an independent conservation organization, work primarily on public lands and issues of quality of life. And that's, you know, sort of the quality of life piece is one of the reasons we try to get involved with Summit for Soldiers when we heard that they were coming to Wyoming to climb Gannett.
This trip is not about the summit. I mean, the flag I carry, really to me, the summit is that flag. And it's getting that flag up there. And if I had had to turn around, I would have passed it off to somebody else because it's about the families that follow, that are on that flag, want it. But Summit for Soldiers is all this. I mean, this is our last night camping, and look at our hotel. I mean, we got rocks, lake, you know, it's just, you know, the beautiful, beautiful out here.
Our origin story is really with the veterans community. We were started by a veteran, Tom Bell, a decorated World War II veteran who, you know, gave an eye for his country, came back from Italy injured after the war, and was looking for a place to recover and a place to heal. And, you know, Tom found that in the Red Desert of Wyoming. And when he started the Outdoor Council years later, you know, protecting places like that for all Americans, you know, was his mission in life. And it's still the mission of the Wyoming Outdoor Council. So
this Gannett Peak climb, you know, I've always heard of Gannett Peak as the highest peak in the state of Wyoming. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful mountain, and what a fantastic climb. And it is not something that somebody should take lightly or come here ill-prepared.
It was a butt buster. It was long. That puppy was a long day. I mean, from going from our high camp at Tarn Lake to summiting, and then coming down and going a little further for the horseback ride. I'm tanked a little bit, dehydrated, a little bit sore, whole 9 yards.
Unfortunately, didn't make the summit. I stopped about 400, just shy of 440 feet from the top. I lost some stamina within myself. And so from just a team aspect, you know, I didn't want to put anybody in jeopardy on that last pitch because we are roped up, you know. So it was a little unfortunate to not make it to that top. But I think in and of itself, you know, the mountain, I think is only a fraction of what we did out here. I mean, you can see the lake and a mountain behind us, which is pretty awesome. This is a lot better than traditional therapy models. You know. It's not knocking traditional therapy in any context. I think traditional therapy has a place. But I think if we currently look at what traditional therapy is producing, which is 20 to 22 veteran suicides a day, which culminates to a little over 7,000 veteran suicides a year, you know, that's traditional therapy, you know, right there, that's producing that. So what else can we do?
I think Mike Fairman's right on in his assessment that it's the isolation that is probably the most deadly factor of the situation.
So the neat thing about what Mike's doing, he's pulling together veterans' families as well as the veterans, and the mission he has to provide a community is key.
There are treatments that are effective and that will change the way the brain is reacting to these events. Chance Phelps Foundation up in Du Bois, they for years have been doing this sort of thing with guided hunting trips. We have local organizations here that also do guided hunting trips, sort of focus for veterans, and these are things that are already happening that I think are really positive. And
what I cherish the most is these organizations like them, Sable Warriors, Summits for Soldiers, and the Outdoor Council, and the Soldier's House, which is where Charlie works in. They're all willing to try something, and so I think that that's key. It's not to take away from this group and add to this group or this, that, or anything. No, I think that we can literally come together as one entity.
I think it has a potential of catching on where people see that this doesn't need an organization. This is just grab that vet down the street and spend some time with them. And maybe even the one that's kind of quiet and reserved and maybe looks a little hard to get in touch with. Those are maybe even those, see what they love and find somebody who loves that equally, get them together and start building some new relationships with them.
Being in the outdoors and experiencing that can certainly be very therapeutic on a number of levels, not just for veterans, but for anybody. And I think that was the whole part of even the mission of the national parks and setting apart some of these public lands, setting aside some of these public lands for public use and to keep them in their natural state.
I think we can have it all, and that's the unique thing about Wyoming. I think it's possible to have it all. To have a thriving economy, to have incredible public lands, and to live in the kind of place we want to. It just takes good decision making, and it requires folks in our state, to come together sort of on common values, and that's that we love to camp with our families. We like to run and ride and bike and whatever it is we like to do on public lands, and maybe we want to cut our firewood or create jobs. But I think there's some balance that we need to find on public lands to make that tradition sustainable in the West. It is absolutely at risk right now, so I think folks that have a stake in the game, and everybody has a stake in the game, really need to step up at this point in time and say, you know what, this is a tradition that I'll fight for. It's a tradition that is distinctly American, and it's a tradition that is Wyoming. So, I hope as we sort of have these difficult conversations about natural resources in Wyoming, we don't forget why we came here in the first place. And that's because of these places, it's because of our wildlife, and it's because of the incredible access we have to, be here in these wonderful wildlands of Wyoming.
This trip to Wyoming and Gannett Peak has just been awesome. It's turned into much more than I was expecting. And so Gannett Peak started out just as one of my personal climbs in my quest to become the first veteran to climb all 50 state high points and the 7 summits of the world. And before I know it, it's grown into, 4 veterans on this climb, 8 community, support members, family, friends, and folks coming along into the outdoors, community coming together, the send-off, but most importantly, helping us spread the word and the message and hopefully begin to plan a chapter here for veterans to come out and be a part of. So it's just been more than I could have ever expected, and we're just greatly appreciative for it.